everyone, how are you? Good evening. I hope you're all well. Happy Wednesday. Obviously we're going to do the the quilt along tonight, hence 7 o'clock. Oh, hang on, all my cameras are a little bit squiffy. Hang on. Oh, 2 seconds. There we go. Maybe that's a bit better. I've had a really busy day. I been to Cheltenham. Got back about half an hour ago. Been to Cheltenham to see my mum because I needed to adjust my dress for the for the renewal. The dress I've bought. I think they thought I was, like people are giants because we had to take 6.5 inches off the hem. I mean, honestly, I know I'm a short ass because I am. I'm only 5'4", but it's not that short. This dress was ridiculous. It was so long. So I learned how to do a rolled hem on an overlocker. I'm well chuffed. Oh, hang on, there's Joshy coming in. I'm just doing a live, darling, okay?
Yeah, sorry.
Cool. That's all right. Yeah, no, it's fine, lovely. Josh just coming in from work. So yeah, dress is all ready. I've got something to wear, which is good. Right, let's say hello to some of you, my darlings. Sorry, I've lost lots of you. Hi, Claire. Hi, Ali. Oh, hang on, where's my cursor gone? There it is. Hi, Bernie. Hi, Maria. Hi, Natalie. Hi, Linda. Hello, my lovelies. How are you all? So we're going to do week 5, which is the second to last of the flower blocks. You need to make 2 of these blocks, okay? And this is a applique block this time. So I'm going to show you 2 different ways that you can do that, but you can do this in any applique method that you like, okay? I've drawn it all out for you and I've put the templates onto the website for you. Hi Vanessa, hi Carol, hi Eileen, hi Jean, hello my darlings. So it's already on the website as usual with all of them. It's £1. It will be 3 sheets of A4. One of them is all like the little pieces done for you, and then the other 2 you're going to stick together to give you your layout. Okay, I haven't written a pattern as such for this one because you don't really need a pattern. It's not. I could write it all out. Stick this to this and this to this, but it's relatively self-explanatory. And also, I wanted to show you different types of applique methods. So you can do it the sort of traditional Bond-to-Webby way, which I'm going to show you a little bit of. We've done a lot of that, so you guys will be fine with that. But I'm also going to show you turned applique as well, not needle turn, which you can use this for if you want to. And if you want to do needle turn, we have done tutorials on that before. So check out our YouTube channel. There's lots out there as well. But we're going to use a very fine interfacing, and we're going to do a turned applique, which actually I really like doing. And also gives you the option of stitching on your machine or hand stitching if you want to. And then next Wednesday, we're going to do the last of the flower blocks, which is going to be some English paper piecing, which again, we can do by hand, and I'm going to show you that. But I'm also going to show you a method where you can machine them as well. Okay, so we're going to do both methods next week too. So if you're not a hand sewer, you can do it on the machine, but if you do like a bit of hand sewing, you can do that as well. So that's kind of the plan. Hi Holly, hi Helen, hello my darlings. So let's get over to the overhead, make sure everything's working, make sure this is live and I'm not frozen. Yep, there we go, we're all good. So you're going to make 2 blocks, okay? I'm using all my little scraps of blocks and bits and pieces, and you can add or adjust this as much as you want, okay? So your pattern is going to be this one, which is your template, which tells you exactly how many you need of each bit. And then the other bit will print out like that and like that. And then you just need to stick it together to get it to 12.5 inches. Okay, which is kind of, your how to lay it out. I've done this so that you can add in as much or as little of this as you want. Okay, so you don't have to add in these little inner petals if you don't want. You can just do big petals and a centre. You can add in as many or as few leaves as you want. If you want to change the shape of the leaves, absolutely play around with that. Oh great, you like hand sewing, no good applique on the machine. Oh, that's all right, lovely. We're going to show you I'm going to show you both methods. You can add these little circles in, which give it another little bit of something if you want. If you don't have to, you could add extras in if you want. You could add extra little circles onto here. You can embroider into this. There's lots and lots of things you can do with this. I'm happy for you to take whatever elements of this block that you want and add in, okay? So, but we're going to do this as is, basically. So because we've done a lot of Bond-A-Web applique before, I've already stuck most of this down, okay? You can see on here you need 4 of the outer petal, which are these ones here, and on your plan that would be C, okay? You'd need 5 of your little inner petal, which is B, which are those ones there. You need a centre, which is A, and then you've got leaves, two outer leaf and a small leaf, okay? And then you've got your little circles. You're going to applique this all onto a 12.5-inch background square, okay? So the other thing I've also done is I've added some interface into the back of my background square, okay? I've cut my background square very slightly bigger. I cut it at 13 inches because as we stitch into this, whether you're hand or machine stitching, it can, make the shape warp a little bit. So I always cut them with applique very slightly bigger. 13 is fine, you're not going to lose that much. And once I've done all the stitching, I will then trim it down to 12.5, okay, which is why you can see the selvage. That's what I've done, okay. So I thought we'll just put another little set of the dots in, okay, with the Bond-A-Web, for just to remind you of the Bond-A-Web, okay. So whatever fusible webbing you want to use, I like Bond-A-Web, but you could use Misty Fuse, you could use Heat and Bond, whatever's your favourite, okay. You love both, looking forward to see each into. Oh, thank you, Anne. Thank you, Eileen. Sorry. Hi, Anne. Hello, my darling. No. Sorry, darling.
Sorry to interrupt. Do you want me to cook you dinner?
Yeah, if you're cooking dinner, that would be lovely. Thank you.
Me, you and Alex, yeah?
Yes. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Sorry, I'm getting dinner cooked for me, which is very nice. So obviously with Bond-A-Web, you've got a paper side and the rough side is your glue. It's also got a little bit of shine to it. You're going to use your little template and we're just going to trace out another little set of these circles. So I've got the glue side down and then pencil. Don't use a Fixon because the minute you iron this on, you're going to regret using a Fixon. So just draw them out. Okay. This is also, these little bits are quite good for using small amounts of Bond-A-Web too. Okay, so I'm going to use those ones. I'm going to cut off a bit of the excess. So cut them out roughly, a little bit bigger than you need them, like that. And then decide what colour. Now I've decided I'm going to do my dots in these colours here. So I'm going to put this colour off this one. I'm going to put the purple off that one. I'm going to use the orange off this one. Okay, you could make these different colours if you wanted to. You could make the leaves different colours. You could make the big petals different colours. It's your block, okay? You play around with it. I'm using up little tiny bits that I've got left over from the other blocks so I can keep my bigger bits for the for the ribbon border we're going to do, if for those of you want to. So I'm just going to pull the old mat over. I've got the glue side on the wrong side of the fabric. Grab my iron. Hi Jean, how are you, darling? And then just adhere that down. Activate that glue and away we go. Okay, like that. Make sure it's nicely stuck and then we can cut them out. And this is when you then cut on the pencil line. I know I'm teaching you all to suck eggs with this because we've done this lots and lots and lots, but it's always worth just going over it again if you want to. Okay, so here we go, round we go on that one. So how is everybody? Is everybody okay? Have you had a nice day? Anybody done anything interesting? My mum made the most amazing moussaka. She's a bloody good cook, she really is. And so she made a beautiful moussaka, which I had for my lunch, which was very nice. And now I'm being cooked dinner by Josh as well. So all great. There we go. I saw my niece as well, which was lovely. She bought a dress over that she's going to be wearing to the renewal. And she's coming on holiday with us as well. And so that Mum could take that up for her too. But I did do all the work on the dress myself. I was very chuffed. Mum showed me how to do it. And we worked out how to do a rolled hem on the overlocker, which thank God for YouTube because we couldn't work it out. And you fell asleep. Oh, Jean, bless you. Helen, you're catching up on blocks. Ah, lovely. Remember, there's no rush with this. You know, it's these tutorials stay on our Facebook page and they go onto YouTube. So there we go. To just make sure that's kind of positioned where I want it to be. Now, before I try and stick this down or anything, I'm going to bring my do this on your ironing board. Okay, it's a lot easier. There we go. So I'm loving seeing all the blocks that you're doing as well. I love the fact that a lot of you, the one that we did last week, you all altered the centre to make it less square, which I was like, I really wish I only thought of that as we were finishing the block. So I'm just scoring the back with the pin to get rid of the paper, just because it stops you picking at the edge, like that. Get rid of that paper. There we go. Another one there. And then add this last little one. So it's only tiny, but it's got that kind of, I suppose, Baltimore feel to it with these little dots, hasn't it? So here we go. And then just position them how I want them. Like that. Okay, about like that. Yeah, I like that. And then iron on top, just to stick them down. Okay, you would then carry on sticking everything down. So I would do my other sets here and here, depending if you want to do those. You know, you don't have to put the dots on if you don't like. I quite like them. I think it's quite pretty. You'll have to show us a roll time on the 1 o'clock. I will, lovely. I will absolutely. That's a good idea, Eileen. Hang on, let me come over here. Yeah, I will. If you want me to, we'll do it as part of the 1 o'clock. Because it won't take you very long to show it. But you've got to do something with like you've got to disengage the blade and do something, and then it worked like a dream. I was just like, this is so cool, because it, you know, trimmed it all for me and rolled the hem and gave a really nice edge to my dress. So I will absolutely show you that on a 1 o'clock. Natalie, you've had people shouting at you, so you know your happy place watching sewing. Oh, honey, I'm sorry people have been shouting at you. Do you need me to come and smack them for you? Do you want me to go and quick cuff round the back of the head for you? I'll do that. I'll come up and do that for you. Hi, Mary. How are you, lovely? I'm very fierce. I'm a care girl. We're very fierce creatures. Oh, Sarah says I scare her. So, that's your bond web. Okay, that's your bonded one. You would then, we'd take this over to the machine and you could choose whatever method you want to stitch into this. You could free motion into it. Okay, if you want to do like free motion embroidery and make it really sketchy, you absolutely can. You could just blanket stitch it. You could blanket stitch it by hand if you wanted to. That's absolutely fine. Or you can blanket stitch it on your machine. You could do a really nice little neat zigzag. In fact, I saw a quilt the other day. I can't remember who it was. Joy Griffiths. I don't know if you watch, lovely. But I was basting your quilt up because that's hopefully going to go on tomorrow. She'd done some applique and she'd done this really beautiful, neat zigzag. It was really lovely work. I was like, oh, so to say, look at the work on this. It's gorgeous. So you could do a really nice, neat little zigzag. Or, like we did on the Delphine Brooks cushion the other day, you could do a satin stitch. Okay. You could choose one colour and do them all in one colour. Or you could match your colours. This is your block, remember, so you do it whatever. What order would you put the pieces on the background, please? Right, so I'll go through that for you now, lovely. So if you're going to do the bonder web, you're always going to work from back to front. So I'd cut all my pieces out, all right, and then I would lay it all down, and I would make sure, so look at your layout, and you can see that E is actually sat underneath D, okay, and D is sat underneath these outer petals, all right. So I would I'll show you in a moment on the next one we're going to do. What I did was I folded in half like that, and gave myself some grid lines. In fact, let's do that on the other one while we're thinking about it. Okay, so fold it in half like that. Okay, and then in half again, so you've got the centre like that. Give yourself some grid lines like that. Okay, hopefully you can see that on camera. I've got little grid lines now, and then I would cut out all of my pieces in whichever fabrics I'm going to use, all right, and then I would lay them down. So this, like A, is actually going to be right on the top, because that's going to cover all of these raw edges. These are going to cover those raw edges, and then the leaves are going to slot in underneath. If you choose to not do this in a ring, these are big enough on here that they will, this raw edge here, this little dotty line, will sit, and the centre will sit under it, so you won't have any raw edges. Okay, so yeah, so I'd cut all my pieces out, I'd lay them all out on my piece. So I'd use these grid lines, and actually, right, I'm going to use one of these. These aren't bonded, these are the turned, but imagine these were bond webbed, okay? And I would go, right, okay, so my first one needs to sit on that line and on that line like that. And then I'd put my next one on, and my next one on, my next one on. Right, now my inner pieces, my inner petals are going to sit on top of that. So I'd arrange those. Don't stick anything down, okay? Don't stick anything down at all. Just lay it gently on your background fabric. Now my petals are going to sit underneath that, and I want them to go underneath, so I can't see any background fabric, I can't see any raw edges. They're going to tuck underneath then, and then my centre is going to go on the top like that. And once I'm really happy with the whole arrangement, how you want it done, then that's why I always do it on the ironing board as well, because I haven't got to then lift it up and try and move it. I would then just gently press it all into place. Okay, so it does, you know, or because you might decide you don't want the leaves on it, you know, so you don't have to put those in. But I would trace them all out, cut them all out, lay them all down so that everything is kind of tucked in. Make sure you've got like no background fabric showing anywhere, no raw edges. Where's the other one gone? There it is. You know, no raw edges anywhere. So I don't know if I hold this one up, can you see that my leaves, that leaf is sat under that one, this leaf is sat under these then come on top, and then my centre's right just there. Okay, so but I cut it all out and then I stick it down so that I can adjust it. Okay, makes sense, brilliant, fabulous. So so going back to this one, you know, have a look back at the Delphine Brooks cushions. Remember the goats and the cows and all that we were doing? You could do that lovely satin stitch if you wanted to. How you want, or you could hand stitch, blanket stitch into them if you want. You could just long stitch, just run in stitch, but you will get frayed edges eventually with that. You just want to seal the edge in some way, unless you like a raw edge applique. Okay, so, thank you, Karen. Thanks, lovely. So yeah, that's your Bonder Web one. Pretty simple. Okay, that's basically what we've done over and over and over again. If you want to do it, all right. Looking at it on camera now, I wish I hadn't put that one in. That one feels too dark for me. I wish maybe I'd put a different colour in there, but I'm leaving it as is. I'm not changing it. It's done. But yeah, that actually tonally, and when talking to Carol about how to lay it all down, that's the other thing as well. If you lay it all out before you stick it down, take a photo and look at the photo on the screen, and you can think, oh, actually, that colour doesn't work. Let's have that one out because you haven't stuck it down. Put a different colour in. All right. So yeah, for me, this one is a little dark. I wish I hadn't used this one, or used maybe 3 of those, because there's 5 of it, and 2 different colours or something. You know, it's standing out a little bit too much for that one, me. But never mind. That is what it is. So the other way you can do this, which I really like this method, I've used this a lot, is what we call turned applique. And this uses a really lightweight, so this is the 180, which is the lightweight fusible interfacing. Okay, I think it's on our website. It's obviously used for dressmaking stuff, but it's brilliant for this as well. It's got glue one side and it's smooth the other. Okay, I've already done a couple of them, which I've now misplaced. What have I done with them? Where are they? I've got 2 there. Oh, what have I done with the other one? There it is. Okay, I'm going to put those out of the way so I don't lose it. So what you're going to do is you're going to put the glue side down. There's lots of different ways of doing this. Some people use freezer paper, some people use a light box. This is how I do it, and it's how I like to do it, but you can do it however you like. You're going to put the glue side, which is rough, against your template, all right, like that. And then you can use a Frixion with this one, any sort of marker pen. You're going to draw out. Okay, so I would use either a soft pencil, something that is not going to, or a gel pen, or chalk doesn't really work on the interfacing. Chalk's a bit of a pain. It could actually be just a biro. You're never going to see this line. It's going to vanish. So I'm just going to draw out that petal, that outer petal, okay? You've got to be a little bit careful. You can't sort of, really, what's the word, draw, strongly into it, because you're going to rip it, but you're just transferring that shape, which is why I think some people do use freezer paper, but I find this works. So you can use freezer paper and put that freezer paper on the back of your fabric that you're going to use, draw around that line, and then you, rather than having to draw on the interfacing. But this works for me, so this is how I do it. Okay, you're then going to roughly cut out that shape. Give yourself a good, I need to sharpen my scissors. There we go. Give yourself, a good outline. Okay, so if I just turn that over a second, hopefully you can see that now. Okay, so I've given, actually that's probably easier, isn't it? I've given myself a little bit of the interfacing all the way around. You're then going to choose your fabric, whatever fabric you want your petals to be in. You're going to put, now this is the bit that feels odd, okay? Can't see the interfacing on the website, you may need to add it. Ooh, okay, lovely. I thought it was on there, Sean, but I will, if not, I will definitely add it when I come off there. I'll double check, but yeah, it's the 180 in the interfacing. I think it's called H. Oh, hang on, I've got it here. I made Alex go and get it. I'll come over to this side. Yeah, it's the Vaseline H180. H180. Okay, it's like $5.95 a metre, and you only need a small amount, but it's really good for turn applique. If it's not already on the website, darling, I will definitely add it when I come off air, okay? So, back over here. This is the bit that people find odd, all right, with this. You're going to put the glue side onto the right side of the fabric, okay? Like that. And you can, because you can see through the interfacing, which is another reason I like to draw on the interfacing, you can fussy cut. I don't need fussy cut on this pattern, but if you've got a fabric like the one I was using yesterday, like a big pattern like this, you can then fussy cut because you can kind of see through the interfacing. So that's another reason I like to draw on the interfacing, so I can kind of go, oh yeah, I'm going to have the whole of that design in there, okay? But this one doesn't need to be fussy cut, so glue side to the right side of the fabric, like that. Obviously don't put an iron anywhere near it, but just pin it down. So pop a couple of pins in, there and there, and then just cut it out about the same size as the excess on the interfacing. Okay, so just remember, you definitely need glue side to the right side of fabric. What I'm going to do now is we're going to take it over to the machine, and we're going to basically stitch round that drawn line all the way around it. So over to the machine we go. And the first thing you want to do on your machine is you want to turn your stitch length right down. So because we're going to be turning this through and manipulating it, I put it down to 1.5. I want a really nice close little stitch, okay? If you've got an open toe foot as well, put that on so you can really see the, oh, you found it, brilliant, excellent, thanks Sean. You can see the line you're following. Slow yourself down, okay? The neater this line is, the better your shape will come out, okay? So slow yourself down and away we go. So we're just going to follow that drawn line. So if you've got a curve, do a few little stitches, stop, pivot. Now I've got a nice little straight bit there, but take small little stitches, 1, 2, 3, stop, pivot. Make sure your needle's down on your machine. You've got the needle function down so that you can pivot round the drawn line. Okay, there we go, round we go, like that, and all the way around. Take your time with this, it's worth it, you will get a better shape, particularly if you are doing like smaller shapes. I mean, this petal's quite a nice easy shape. What's that, Vanessa? You missed the quilt along completely. Is there a picture of the finished quilt or a list of fabric requirements? Yes, lovely. I will try and find the post on our Facebook page and I'll repin it for you. or we're on week 5, but there are other videos that you can have a look at as well. There is only a graphic of the finished quilt because I quite frankly admitted in week 1 I didn't want to have to make this twice. I made all the blocks, one of each of the blocks, to test the maths, the quilt maths, to make sure I was doing it right. And it all worked, and it did, and we're kind of making the finished one together. It's going to be quite a big quilt when it's done, but you needed 6.5 meters of coordinating fabrics, and was it 2.5 meters of background fabric? I can't remember now off the top of my head, but I will repin the graphic for you so that you can see with the fabric requirements. But I'm really pleased with how it's coming out. It's better than my original idea. Better than graphic looks, which is lovely. There we go. So I'm just going quite slow and just, as you can see, taking my time to go round. Okay. If you don't want to hand sew these, you can absolutely backstitch all of these. You could backstitch around this line if you wanted to, as long as it's a nice short backstitch and you've got your stitches nice and close together. But it doesn't take any time at all to do on the machine. There we go. So cut that off. And back we go to the overhead. Over here we go. Oh, I've made such a mess this afternoon because I was in such a rush to get back and get everything sorted. So it was lush to see my mum though. It was a really lovely day. What we're going to do now, you can cut this out with just normal scissors and then clip into all the curves, or trusty pinking shears and cut round close to the stitches, but obviously not too close that you cut the stitches, all the way around the edge. Okay, so I'm less than 1/8 of an inch away, so I'm just cutting out that shape. Now the reason I like this method, it gives you a slightly puffier look than Bondaweb, which if you like that, this is a nice one to do. Okay, so cut all the way around with my pinking shears, and then I'm going to grab my scissors and I'm going to pull away the interfacing from the fabric like that. Ooh, get my fingers all in together like that. Make a little snip just so can get my scissors in, and then cut. Oh, I really do need to sharpen my scissors. My scissors are weren't flying. Cut a little hole. Okay, doesn't matter. There's a hole in the interfacing. You're never going to see this. Okay, it's all going to be on the reverse. It's all going to be sealed in, and then you want to very carefully, again, just carefully pull it all through the hole like that. Which means now that the glue is on the outside. Okay, so there's that funny noise again. I think it's the rulers. I think it's where I knock the table. Work your way round like this, roll in that seam all the way around. Okay, so pull out that fabric. I'm trying to do this close to the camera for you guys. All the way round so that the interfacing and the seam are right on the edge. You can get a pair of scissors in there if you want, or a turning tool. My little prune turning tool, which I don't know where it's gone. I love that, the little turquoisey one. It's got a nice little edge on it. You can get round chopstick, whatever you fancy. But just push that out there. There we go. Make sure it's all pushed out. Doesn't matter that that's ripped there, but you just want to make sure that that is all right, nice on the edge. Okay. So you've now got that shape that you want of that petal, but you've got interfacing on the back. Okay, cool. You can find, oh, thanks, Sean. Oh, Sean's on it today. So you would go ahead and you would do all of that with any of the shapes that you are going to use. Okay. Also, yeah, you can find, absolutely, you can find all the videos here or on our YouTube channel. So where's the other two? So I would grid out, just like I did, I showed you a moment ago, just fold half in half, okay? And then you can use this layout to kind of, because there's my middle lines, to kind of, if you wanted to, you can do this, okay? You can put your background fabric over the layout, and because it's a darkish line, you can then go, right, that one's going to sit there like that. and you can kind of use it as a like a ghost of a line underneath. That one's going to sit there like that. There we go. That one's going to sit there like that. And then that one's going to sit there like that. Okay, so they're going to go. So there's those outer petals. All right. You would then we'll do the centre as well. If I do exactly the same for the centre, I can show you. You feel a trip to the shop coming on. Well, come along then. Please do, darling. Karen, you did this method with the double quilt fusing 432 leaves this way. Wow. Holy moly, that is a lot of leaves. You haven't got that. You've got 8 on this block. The nice thing about this method, though, is you can get really lovely lines with it. You know, sometimes with your Bonder web, if you're a little bit skew whiff with your sewing, or a little bit skew whiff for your tracing, or then a little bit skew whiff for your blanket stitch, it can kind of make it go off kilter a little bit. I really like the fact that you can get these beautiful lines with this. All right, so let's do this. Let's do the centre as well, and then I can show you that bit as well. So again, interfacing glue side down like that. And we're going to trace the centre out. So this is really nice. They do this a lot when you see those beautiful applique quilts like the Baltimore quilts. They use this method a lot to get the tiny little circles really circular. I just like this. I think it's a bit different as well. It's teaching you another technique as well, isn't it? So, oh, missed, moved. There we go. I'll just get around that bit there. There we go. What's that? I just saw Maria. You couldn't do that with freezer paper. You're dreadful at turning. You can't do this method with freezing paper. No, with freezer paper. Because you want the glue on the back, and you can't. You have to take the freezer paper out. So you couldn't do it with freezer paper, hun. You can do needle turn applique with freezer paper. That's all the hand turned one, but you can't do this method with freezer paper. What people use freezer paper for with this method is they would trace that circle out onto the freezer paper. They would cut it out on the line, and then they would use, what colour should we do? Should we do yellow centre? Let's do a yellow centre. They would then use the freezer paper on here, okay, onto the fabric on the right side and trace around it, and then they pull the freezer paper off, and then you use the interfacing, okay. So you would you would just use a plain piece of interfacing then, and you can see the line that you've traced around the freezer paper. I don't think I've got any here, otherwise I would show you how to do it. Let me just give you 2 seconds. Let me see if I've got some. We did have freezer paper over here around here the other day. What would I have done with it? What would I have used it for? What did I use freezer paper for? Where might it be? I can't remember. You could print out lots of these, I suppose, and cut that out and use that as your template and draw around it. For the circle, I've used card and foil and ironed. Oh, yes, you can do that. Yeah, you can do a circle of cardboard, put that on, and then you use the foil to get this fabric really hot, and you basically turn your edges in, you clip round them, turn your edges in, and that gives it. The only thing I find with that method is if your clipping isn't really accurate and quite small, your circles can be a bit jaggedy, where this method you'll get a really nice circle. So yeah, you're dreadful at turning fabric, never managed to get a clean shot seam no matter how much you roll it. Get your turning tool in there, love. Get your turning tool in there and just push out gently on that seam. And because you've sewn it with this method, you've really got something to push against. If you put that stitch length down, it's not going to come apart. You do get a nice curve, okay? So let's do a yellow centre. So I need a piece of fabric, which is the glue side down. But let's just chop off that random bit there. Okay. Is everybody with me at the moment? You still okay with what we're doing, yeah? Is it making sense? I hope it is. Oh, there we go. So, glue side, let me give that a quick iron. Yeah, that's one of the reasons I like this one, is because of the seam, you've got something nice to push against. So glue side to the right side of the fabric, and then I'm just going to put one pin right in the centre, and then we're going to do the same again. We're going to stitch round. So over to the machine, and then you get to talk to me. You're still with us. Brilliant. Fabulous. Thank you, Jean. As long as it's all making sense. Okay, so again, going a bit slow and steady because this is a circle. So 2 or 3 stitches. Eileen, if you're worried about like jaggedy edges, 2 or 3 stitches, literally go really, really slow. 2 or 3, needle up and round. The more you can pivot round a curve, the smoother the line will be. You know, otherwise it becomes a bit hexagonal because you've got too many straight stitches before turning. There we go. See, that was probably a couple too many there. Oh, hang on, let me just take that pin out of the way. Literally like 2 or 3 at a time. Make sure you're taking your time. There we go. All the way around. Now, as you notice, I still haven't put an iron on anything. You watched even applique paper, which makes the edges less bulky, and applique no turning then. Yes, absolutely, yeah. And the Bond web and all, it is less bulky than this, but one of the reasons I like this is because you've got a slightly puffy look to it. The other thing with this as well is if you did want to almost trapunto it. Do you remember us doing? I don't know if you guys remember trapunto. We did do a little demo on it a little while back, but I'll show you in a minute what I mean. You can trapunto this as well, doing it this way, and make it even puffier, which is quite nice. You've watched somebody using a teaspoon inside to push out curves and edges, which is quick and easy. Oh, I've not seen that. I'll give that a go. Oh, but yeah, one of those little tiny teaspoons, get that in there against a curved edge against a curved edge. That sounds like that would work lovely. Nice. There we go. Nearly all the way around. Now you see I've gone a little bit straight on some of these because I was looking at the comments instead of watching what I was doing. But never mind. There we go. Back to the beginning. There we go. And over we go. There was a new gadget on TV this week. Poppety applique to make perfect small circles. They look like washers that fitted perfectly together. They looked a bit fiddly and pricey. Ooh, I'm going to go and have a look at those, lovely. Poppety applique. Not heard of that one as well. Right, so just like we did last time, I'm going to use my pinking shears because again, I like the pinking shears for applique because it saves snipping in all of those curves, which half the time I catch the stitches because I get too snipper happy, and then before you know it, done. Okay, so there we go, and then again pull away that centre like that, make a little snip. Well, I would if my scissors worked. I've got rubbish scissors. I really do need to get them sharpened. There we go, and then we're going to pull through. So again, try not to rip the interfacing because it's quite easy to rip the interfacing. Put that through like that. Are you going to sew these on by hand? You can choose, lovely, whether you want to sew these on by hand or whether you want to sew them on the machine. I'm probably going to sew them on by hand because I like the look of it. But you can absolutely, and I'll iron these down in a moment and show you. You can absolutely do these on the machine. You can blanket stitch them, you can satin, you can zigzag, you can just straight, because it's not a raw edge, because the raw edges are inside, you can just straight stitch around them. Oh yeah, can you see where I went a bit straight there? That was annoying, that's because I was reading your comments. You like the method, no raw edges. Crochet hook, yeah, I was going to say, I've got this really old, chunky, it's soft on the edge. It's because it's a plastic knitting needle. If you can run that round the edge as well. But yeah, the back of a crochet hook, you know where the hook is, that back bit there, that's brilliant for getting in the seams. That works lovely. There we go, all the way around like that. Okay, so again, you're going to make all your pieces, as many as you're going to add on to your applique block, and then that's going to sit in the centre like that. Okay, so I'm going to just tuck it all in like that. Okay, now I'm going to very lightly press this because I do want to add in those inner petals. But we're not going to do that this evening because of time and stuff. So I'm only going to very lightly press it. Because it is an interfacing and not bonder web, you can very lightly press this just in places and you'll be able to lift it. In fact, I'm not going to press that one. I'm just going to press these on the edges so I can show you how to sew them. And then that means that I can still put the inner petals in later. So remember, this is glue now on this side. So get it in the position you want and then just gently. Now it's not going to be a really strong adhesive like bonder web. Okay, that's enough to, you can see that's holding it, but if I wanted to, I could just very gently peel that off. If it's gone cold, if you give it a bit of an iron on the back just to warm the glue, you can still peel it off. Like I said, I'm not going to completely adhere these because I want to be able to get the iron, word, Sarah, come on. I want to be able to get the leaves in and the inner petals. As long as it's on the machine, you hate hand sewing. You could blanket stitch. Oh, I think I've missed a section. But yes, I'm going to show you this on the machine, but there is nothing stopping you hand sewing these. Okay, there we go. So I'm just going to gently just press those into place just to hold them for now. Okay, because I want to put it all together. Once you have put it all together and you've, what's the word? Really ironed it well, you could put a cloth over the top and really press it to get that all stuck down. Okay, you could then, if you want to, just as you put your binding on, you can slip stitch these into place. Okay, so if you like hand sewing, I quite like hand sewing these, and I will probably do that on mine. You can hand sew these into place. So just like you would do needle turn, you can, or your binding. You're just going to do an invisible slip stitch in the colour that matches the petal, not the background, all the way around, okay? And just stitch that in. However, if you don't like hand sewing, we can take this to the machine and you can straight stitch this. Because there's no raw edges, you don't need to blanket. You can if you want to blanket stitch if you like it, but you don't need to. So we're just going to do round that one petal, basically so I can unpick it later so I can hand stitch it. Yeah, what's that? Maria, you'd like to bonder web the most of the flower, but use this method for the flower centre to give it more depth. Oh yeah, actually, before we do that, so remember I was saying that you can trapunto it. So because you've got a little hole here, there is nothing stopping you putting a little bit of toy stuff. Have I got any toy stuff in here? Hang on, my darlings. Oh, why have I never got any toy stuff in when I want it? I had some here the other day. What's that there? Oh, no, that's just a bit of wadding. Hang on, I can use this. So, there we go. So, you could use a little piece of wadding. Let me just chop that off a weeny bit. Okay, so again, cut a piece of wadding that's the right shape. A little bit smaller than the original circle. You can add wadding into this. Okay, like that. Okay, it's better with toy stuff in, to be honest. Which is kind of what the trapunto thing is, to make it a little bit puffy. So when you put that on, you've got a bit more dimension. If you're going to puffy it, if you're going to make it puffy it, that's not an expression, is it? If you're going to make it puffy, I would absolutely hand stitch this in. Okay, I wouldn't try and get a lot of puff under the machine, because trying to get that neat round with any sort of dimension is quite difficult, and I think it can end up looking really messy. It would look much nicer and much more professional if you hand stitch this in, if you wanted to make that a little bit puffy. Okay, but that's the nice thing about this, because the interfacing holds that bit of stuffing in place for you. Like that, stitch it round. Okay, however, if you don't do hand stitching, you can absolutely just straight stitch this. So I'm going to pop my needle in, and I'm talking a 1/16 of an inch away from the edge. You want to be like top stitching, you want to be as close to the edge without actually being on the edge as you can. All right, so I'm looking at dropping my needle in, sort of. I'm hoping you can see this on the camera there. All right, I would put my stitch length back up to a normal stitch length, like 2.5. You don't want it too big, because if it's too big, it ruins the line of the curve, I think. because again, we're going to go slow and steady, and you want to take a few stitches at a time. So you could, I've got white in, but I'm just going slow and steady, and you can just tack, tack, tack down. When I get to a curve, stop, just like we did with the interfacing line, all the way around. Okay, and you can do this around all of your pieces. So it's just like top stitching basically, and the slower and neater you go, the better it looks. And again, you can make a feature of it, you know, and do it in a contrast colour. That way, you, with like the leaves and all, you could put vines in if you wanted to. You could do a bit of top stitching on that to make it look like, you know, vines, veins on the leaves. That's the word I'm looking for. Or do it in a coordinating colour so you can't see it. Okay, so I'm not going to do any more of that because I'm actually going to take these off so I can put the other bits back on. Because I want to do the whole thing in this. So I've got the two different types on there. But I don't know if I hold that up there, you can see you can top stitch this, but because this is all turned in, you've got no raw edges, it's never going to fray. Okay, so that's kind of the two ways that I would suggest doing the applique. You could absolutely do needle turn if you want. I'm not going to go through needle turn tonight because we've done it a few times. You could use decorative stitches, absolutely. You could use some really pretty decorative stitches and make these petals, you know, look different, you know, look like they've got a frilly edge, you know, play around with some of them if you want to. Entirely up to you. Yeah, that's a good shout actually. You know, so play around with this. You can add in as much or as little as you want. Okay, so you can see that one there doesn't have the inner petals on it. Where's my other block gone? Lost it. Okay, so it's simpler, but you could add just maybe leaves on some of it. You could add the dots in if you wanted to. You can. Hello, darling.
Dinner's going to be in the oven for you when you're
Thank you. Cheers. Thanks, darling. Or you can do the whole thing and add in all of the dots, all of the petals. I'm really cross about that one. It doesn't go, but never mind. I might use a contrasting colour just to knock it back. I might actually do like contrasting colours on these, and it'll knock back the colour a little bit. So you want to make 2 of these blocks. Once you've done all of your stitching, then you're going to square it up to 12.5 inches. Okay, so you can use these, you know, do as much or as little as you like with them. All right, you can make them very simple, or you can do the whole shebang. All right. So, any other questions? So I'm going to come back over here now, guys. Any questions on that one? Is there anything you would like me to go through? Any other, you know, I think I've chucked quite a lot at that one for you. Decide which method you're going to go, and then, you know, you could absolutely, like Maria was saying, do all of this in bond web, but have a nice puffy centre. You know, do a turned centre and have a slightly more 3D puffy centre on it. You could definitely do that. You could do that on some of your other blocks as well if you wanted to. You know, if there's anything there that you think, oh, actually, I'd like a little bit more dimension, there's no reason why you couldn't add bits on if you wanted. So that's it, my lovelies. If there's no questions or anything, brilliant. Hopefully I explained it all okay. Next week, like I said, we're going to do some English paper piecing, and I'm going to do 2 versions of the pattern. Okay, so I'm going to do a very, very simple EPP one, a real traditional grandma's hexy flower. But I've also got another one that you could do as well if you're really into your EPP, and it's a slightly more complicated flower with English paper piecing. All right, so you can choose on that, and you can also choose to do it by hand, or you can choose to apply with the machine. So we'll go through that next week. Okay, lovely. So remember, you only need 2 of these, and then we're going to do 2 flower blocks, and then we're going to have 2 weeks off basically because I'm on hollybubs. I'm away. So you'll have 2 weeks. So next week we'll talk about the English paper piecing box, and then we'll talk about putting the blocks together. All right. So when we come back from holiday, the Wednesday that we come back, which will give you 2 weeks, you'll have like your centre done. and then we will do the stop border and the ribbon border for those of you who want to put that on. You don't have to. You might decide the quilt's as big as I want it to be. I don't need to go anything else, okay? Thank you, Eileen. Oh, you love EPP. Excellent. Thank you, Geraldine. That's lovely too. You've just downloaded the pattern. Brilliant. Thank you, Maria. So the template is on our website. It's in digital downloads. It's all fenced in. Week 5 applique. I've put as much information in as I can. The picture is the little graphic is very slightly different to this, but that's only because I'm not brilliant drawing on the graphics. So I kind of did my best. Because I didn't have obviously a photo of it. So with the EPP, will you need to download the pattern? You won't if it's just the Grandma's hexie. If you've got the right size hexes there, you won't need to. With the other one, you will need to get the right shapes. So it depends on what you choose to do with that one. But we can talk about that next week, lovely Bernie, with that. It's what's the word? There's a choice on it. So one you won't really need to. You might have hexes there that you can cut out and or just draw a hexie the right size and use. The other one you might need to download. Okay, so brilliant. That's it. I'm going to go and eat my tea because Josh is good for me, which is lovely, and I've been rabbited on enough anyway. So Sarah's back tomorrow at 1:00. She's going to be continuing the Granny Square cardie. So she's back at 1, and I will see you next week. I'll see you Tuesday next week. It's my youngest GCSE results tomorrow. Let's hope you did okay. I'll let you know. Take care. Bye.